Hi, this is Mike Human. We're here at G2M Research in the hot seat with Excelero. With me is Josh Goldenhaar. Josh runs product management, and we have Tom Leyden who runs marketing. Nice to have you guys here. Thank you very much for coming by and
Great
talking
to be
to
here.
us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So, obviously, a lot of talk about NVMe this year at Flash Memory Summit, even more so than last year, I think.
Really?
Well,
I've
maybe
never-
not me.
I've never
Maybe
heard
it's
of
about the same.
NVMe before. It's like, is this a new thing?
Yeah, it's that new technology,
Okay.
I think. So,
All right.
anyway, so what are you guys announcing this year? You have anything big that you're announcing or showing in the
We
booth
do
or-
actually. This has been a very eventful week, as Tom will attest to. We've had various things. So one was with our partner WD, who is also an investor. We have been very happy that they made an announcement that our software is certified for their new platform.
Nice.
And that new platform makes it currently the densest performance platform in the industry
Wow.
at
Wow.
more than 40 gigabytes per second
That's
for
impressive.
every 1U.
That is
So
impressive.
it's very, very high performance, both IOPS and bandwidth, and we're very happy to have that partnership and that announced.
Nice.
That was early in the week. And then yesterday, I believe we also announced a secondary product line. And that product line is called NV Edge.
Okay.
And so in brief for those out there, it's like, well, NV Edge, you already have NV Mesh.
Right. Right.
And NV Mesh is billed as and is the world's fastest block storage.
right.
It's the way you want to share NVMe. And we have for a long time said to folks that come and ask us, that's great, but I need to start really small, especially at the edge.
Right.
I have power, cooling, space limitations
Right.
at the edge, whereas I need everything to be as optimized as possible. So what can you do for me in a single box? I'm like, well, we're about scalability, and you have to start with at least 3 of our boxes. And I say, but I actually don't need to scale that much in this data center, in this rack. And this applies to web scalers as well, oddly enough. You
Yeah.
think that
Absolutely.
folks that want to go to thousands of nodes in a data center, don't they want to scale? Yes, they're scaling their data center, but oftentimes they limit what's colloquially known as the blast radius
Yes. Yes.
or a failure domain in one rack.
Yes.
They want a top-of-rack solution. So
Interesting.
we made this giant leap. They said, rather than fight against people and tell them, no, how our way's better,
Yes.
let's go ahead and just, let's make what they're asking for.
Convincing customers that they're wrong is
Yes.
not
Yeah.
usually a deed worth trying to
Yeah,
accomplish. Yes,
definitely.
Exactly.
So the announcement was a new product line
Wow.
that's meant for OEMs. It's meant for
Okay.
OEMs and large-scale web scalers, instead of these tech giants,
Okay.
to go ahead and take the hardware of their choice, whether that's x86,
Right.
whether it's ARM processors, SmartNICs or SoCs.
Wow.
The software has been ported to all these different platforms, and they can make the hardware platform that best differentiates them, add our special sauce in the NV Edge, this IO engine subsystem that is phenomenal, and it's the only one in the world that we know of that can do 2.7 million random
Wow.
4K IOPS on a 100 gigabit interface.
That's really good.
And this scales, we will use every interface you add, we'll get that same level.
So one would expect with a name like NVM Edge that it probably plays to the IoT market as well. Would that be a fair statement?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
and the reason we're attacking Edge is precisely that. In fact, there's a paper on our site that
Okay.
mentions this,
Excellent.
is that at the edge, especially with the advent of 5G, we're going to see what we already have is the explosion. I mean, in my own home, I can have a lock on the door that's directly Wi-Fi enabled now.
Yes.
There's no
exactly.
more hubs necessary. My refrigerator talks to this. My washer and dryer talks to Wi-Fi. All these things are on Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Still a little bit expensive. With 5G, we're going to get the advent of now lower latency, higher bandwidth capability at a price point that makes it affordable for manufacturers to put this in basically almost
Right.
any device you want to. So you think we have a lot of devices now. We're going to see even a larger explosion of devices. And the amount of data that comes in will both be higher bandwidth, and simultaneously there'll also be a lot more of very, very small I/O.
Right.
And what this translates to, of course, is either low latency or high bandwidth, or both.
Yes.
And so this storage processing, which can be at the edge, can take in those IoT devices, whether or not they're high bandwidth or low latency, and it can deal with that.
Very cool. So you know, one of the areas that we've obviously seen a lot of lately is security and security around data. What do you guys look at from that perspective? You know, I mean, obviously that's not necessarily the business you're in, but you know, is it an exceptionally different challenge for you and with distributed file systems, or is it not really any?
Well, it depends where you want the security.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about security over the wire, we're unaffected by that because whatever comes in, we're just going to store and or serve.
Right.
But oddly, going back, I sound like a marketing guy, I know, because I'm going to go back to the same thing. But with NV Edge,
yes,
this platform that we announced that can support SoCs from Broadcom and Mellanox.
Okay.
These same devices are actually optimized and have specialized calls in the processors for offload of encryption, of things like compression, and this can be used in storage for things like dedupe, but it can also be used for encryption.
Right. That's
So
good use for it.
If you, in this device, you wanted to go ahead and be an OEM that licenses this from us, and the special sauce you want to add is some kind of security encryption, we're set up for that because these chips, these SoCs can support that readily.
Yeah, excellent. That's really good. I mean, obviously, the edge has been something that a lot of people have been concerned about from a security standpoint. So, you know, provide that's a great capability. That's excellent. So, Tom, from your perspective, you know, looking at kind of how the market has matured and you know, scale out flash storage software solutions. You know, what do you think the next kind of big milestone is that you guys see as far as market growth or you know, as you take on the array market or complement the array market, you know, how do you see that evolving?
So I think the milestone with respect to NVMe, because that's what we know most about, we actually hit the milestone this year. This year is really the year of NVMe. This is our third year in operation with Excelero, and if I look back at it, the first year, the pushback we were getting was nobody can buy it because there was not enough NVMe available. And then last year we saw that change, but still we had to cross the chasm still. And this year we feel that it actually happened. We see that because of course, our sales numbers are growing fast, but also because we're learning a lot about new use cases. Last year we were still trying to figure out what are the real use cases for us. And we had a few. We had some success in the M&E market, for example, media and entertainment. Our customer Technicolor was very important, helping us out there. But the M&E market is really a niche market, being honest. This year, the breakthrough came with AI and machine learning, where, again, our customers helped us to define the use case. And it's really good for a company like us to have your customers help you build a use case, because then you know that the use case is going to be real. If you're, as a storage company, if you have to invent use cases, this is not the right thing. I know that from experience. So...
I thought that was called marketing.
Yes. So the AI customer I have in mind is called InstaDeep. They're a UK headquartered AI as a service company, and the problem they had was they saw that the utilization of their GPUs was not big enough. Utilization was sometimes as low as 15-20%.
Wow.
And GPUs are the most expensive piece of your data center, right? So they really wanted to up that. So the problem they have to increase the usage of their GPUs was they needed data to be fed to the GPUs faster.
Right.
And the real problem is that the local storage that you have, the local flash, is really limited. The number of flash is 8.
Yeah, it's 8 drives in a DGX2.
There you go.
Even though they've gone to NVMe, it's still only 8.
Yeah.
So what they did is they tested a box from our partner Boston in the UK, and what they found was that the performance with NVMesh was better than the performance they had with the local flash in the DGX boxes.
That's amazing.
That's we essentially enabled them to feed much more data to the GPUs, and in that way they could run their GPUs more. So to go back to your question, the milestone is to see NVMe really used in the field by customers and bring real benefits to customers.
the price point got to the same of Flash,
Yes.
but because of the extra performance they're getting, the eventual cost is actually lower because the ROI is much better.
And I agree with you. I mean, if you look at the numbers on the enterprise, flash storage, right? NVMe is clearly the leading interface today, which is really good. So I think we've really seen that market take off, and hopefully NVMe over Fabric will start taking off as well. What are your guys' thoughts on NVMe over Fabric? Either what are the hurdles you see, or which of the protocols do you favor, or do you support all of them, and you just kind of...
We think it's a fad.
Oh, okay.
It's going to disappear, like the internet. It's not long for this world. So
Go ahead. Seriously now.
it's a good question.
Thank you.
Now, being at the show,
Yeah.
I actually told someone this morning that last year the show had a definite theme. It seemed to be not just NVMe over Fabric, but NVMe over Fabric over TCP.
Yes.
It's like, this is going to be it. It's going to be it. I haven't heard that buzz here.
Yeah.
At least not the TCP one.
Yeah.
NVMe over Fabric, definitely.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, this is partly Josh and partly Excelero.
Right.
NVMe over Fabric fiber channel? No.
Yeah.
Legacy, if you have a huge investment in fiber channel
Sure.
and you want to get marginally more performance, okay.
Well, it's free for fiber channel, right? I mean,
Well,
if
you know
you're
what? No,
Gen
you
5
still
plus or Gen 6,
exactly. But you just said the key
Yeah,
thing. There's
right.
a lot of sites that
you're
are not.
Gen 5 or 4.
They're not gonna. You're not gonna go back to your fiber
That's
channel
right.
8 and,
That's right.
and have this work. So not that one.
Right.
How about NVMe over Fabric TCP?
Right.
I think people are starting to see that all the kind of FUD that was out there about, oh, don't use RDMA, just use TCP. You know that. Well, when you start getting to things like having to configure failover on TCP and do bonding, a lot of this promise of it's really easy, you don't have to do any switch changes. Oh, wait a minute. To set up bonding on a host, you have to change the switch and you have to change the host.
Right. Right.
And then if you really get into, if you're going to use your TCP network for NVMe storage,
Yeah.
you're going to be pounding your network.
Right.
So guess what you have to do? You have to do QoS and ECN, and so it's really, I think people are finding out that a lot of that FUD was just that. It was fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and there wasn't a lot of
You're
truth
up
there.
in the same spot, no matter
Exactly.
what you're
So
trying to do.
what you'll end up with is the casual users
Yes.
will say TCP is enough for me, and they'll get great performance, by the way. And they could get great performance with our TCP offering, because we do support the TCP protocol. And if they want not just better performance, but the key thing is better consistency of performance.
Right.
We had an invited guest at my panel yesterday from LinkedIn who talked all about what was important to them for NVMe over Fabric was the consistency of performance. And that is, they measured consistency performance on the drives locally, and then they did it over an NVMe over Fabric solution.
Right.
And that particular solution they were testing got the same performance. The graph lines were mirrored.
Wow.
And so, and that consistency was due to the fact that Rocky V2, that's what they're using on Ethernet, was making a lossy fabric act like a lossless one.
Right. Right.
And so they got that consistency. TCP is just not going to offer that consistency. So we're still betting that for those that need the highest levels of performance and the highest levels of consistency, they will go with an RDMA protocol.
Excellent.
Where TCP will then be second. It's good enough, and good enough is still very, very good.
Right.
And that's it. That's probably who we're going to see are the winners.
How do you guys? One more question for you. How do you guys look at things like congestion on the network and making sure that storage really still performs well? Is that a challenge for you guys? How do you handle it? You know, do you have any insights on that side of it?
I didn't catch the first part of
Ah, sorry.
Can
So,
But the music is
or even
fabulous.
100 gig networks, people are saying today, congestion is becoming an issue on converged networks. Not surprisingly. How do you guys handle congestion and still deliver, breakneck performance?
Go
ahead. The answer is actually fairly simple.
Yeah.
Rocky is InfiniBand protocol that sits on top of UDP.
Absolutely.
So therefore, underneath the covers, you're still going to use traditional congestion management tools like separating out by VLAN or purely separating out by subnet. Or you can either do this at a logical level or a physical level.
Okay.
These concepts they don't disappear. I don't have a magic bullet that says that
It's
I can
just
use
applying
I can use
standard
I can use
networking management
I can use
techniques.
I can use one wire and do all my data and all my storage.
Right.
You can, but there's going to be a trade-off
Yes.
somewhere. And if you stay below thresholds now, I will say the drop in cost of interfacing.
Yeah.
So 100 gigabit interfaces are now going to become the second class citizen as we get 200 gigabit out.
Yes, exactly.
So the per port price, both on clients and switches, has dropped so much that businesses more than ever before can afford to get that little bit of extra bandwidth.
Absolutely.
So rather than going from 10 gig to 25, they might consider going to 50 and be at the same price point they were, only a couple of years ago.
Exactly.
And so therefore, if they have that much overhead, there's a lot less chance that they'll have congestion.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you, Josh.
That's a pleasure, always.
A pleasure.
Thank you.
Tom, thanks
Thank you.
again. Really appreciate it. And this was G2M Research in the Hot Seat with Excelero.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.